Okay, we are starting Hilchos Chanukah, Siman Tuf Reish Pei, a siman that probably your average Orthodox Jew has no knowledge about. This is a siman which is not the most applicable, but we're going to learn it anyways because that's what we do. It's a short siman. It's something that we will definitely be able to finish Mirza Hashem Bli Neder before Hanukkah. And that being said, we're going to start the tour siman Tuf Reish Pei. Belel Shabbos Arach Litin Shum Davar Lachutz Ben Haneros LaPesach Beshvil Haruach Shlo Yukava Haneros Kishapoiseach Hadeles. So this is talking about on Shabbos night. Hanukkah is 8 days. By definition, Shabbos will always fall out during Hanukkah. So this is talking about on Shabbos night, you need to put something between the Neros and the door, so that because of the wind, so that it will not extinguish. Okay, so something needs to be placed between the Neros and the candles for Hanukkah, the actual menorah, and the door, so that the wind will not extinguish the candles when you open the door. Right, so this is obviously referring to in a house which is smaller. There's not a better place to put it, and they're putting it in front of the door. Perhaps that's one explanation. Another explanation perhaps is there's a whole discussion of where to place the menorah by the door. There's sources for that whole discussion. Nowadays we know what we do. But anyways, yeah, window in America, the whole discussion, Eretz show more outside, fine. Why? The ner shachar hadelos aser liftoyach v'linol kenegdo. If the menorah is behind the door, it's prohibited to open and close the door. Okay? That is going to be Sif Aleph. Sif Beis. Kosav Haram Rutenberg. Kishayisi Bisarfat Raisi Es Moiri Hareb Shmuel Shalohaya Lo Mokoim Achore Hadelis Lahadlik Neru Shel Chanukah Vahayo Koveyo Oisum Bedelis Atzmo Achre Hadelis. So he says, when I was in Sarfat, so I think that's, what is that, Spain? France. Okay, that's France. So I saw my Rebbe, Reb Shmuel, he didn't have place, right, to put the nair behind the door, right in front of the door when you walk in. So what did he do? He put it achore hadelis. There's an idea of right. Excuse me. He put it on the door itself. So imagine a door, a front door to a house, and you put it on the side of the door, which is inside the house. That's what Reb Shmuel did. And he said, he gave a reason for this practice. Shahadelis batel lagabe bias. Chashiva kimechuber lekarkav lechashiv metalta haneres kishposeach v'noah hadelis. The door is null and void to the house. The house is the main item. The door is secondary. Right? You could have a house without a door, but you can't have a door without a house. That makes sense. Maybe I said that wrong. You could have a house without a door. The house will still stand, right? The house is the main thing. Yeah, so basically that's the idea. But if you just have a door, you can't have a house with that, right? If you just have a door, you can't have a house. One door is in a house. So the main item over here is the house. That makes sense what I just said. Great. If not, just don't worry about it. The point is that the house, I think it makes sense. The house is the main thing, the main show, and the door is secondary. So therefore, so therefore the door is considered part of the house. It's considered mechuber lakarka, aka connected to the ground. It's not considered that now you're moving the nair when you are opening and closing the door. It's not considered like you're moving the nair. So okay, so what's happening over here is potentially there might have been a halachic issue with not tiltul muksa. Well, that could be another problem. Yeah, that could be another problem. But really, there's two problems. All right, that's a good point. There's a prohibition. All right, one is not allowed to move the menorah after they light. Right, we hold hadlaka oisa mitzvah. And that's also something important to talk about over here. There's a machlekes in the Gemara, hanacha osa mitzvah, or hadlaka osa mitzvah. Without going into all the details, what this means on a very superficial and basic level is the Ner Chanukah, okay, has to be lit in a way that is kosher according to everyone. It's in a location which is kosher. It's in a setup that's kosher. It has to be totally okay, right? The location has to be a location which is okay. If someone is lighting right next to the window and the window's open, it's very windy, he's not going to fulfill his obligation, right? So that's a discussion. It's a whole discussion in that case. If he lights by a window that's windy and it's most probable 90% chance it's going to blow out. It happened to be that it didn't blow out. Does he still fulfill his obligation? An interesting child.
That's what I thought
That's
we were
fair.
talking about in the first,
Okay, so
set.
no, so this over here is talking about, okay, so now that's one point. I'm gonna tell you what we're talking about over here. Second point is there's a problem of Shabbos. You're not allowed to move a nair that's lit on Shabbos, right?
Okay.
Okay, fine. That's a muktzah problem.
Because he says
It's an
specifically
issue.
the first problem is the ruach.
Right. So that's what we're really talking about over here. We're talking about a Shabbos issue. Talking about a Shabbos issue over here. So it's really a Shabbos issue. So the Chiddush of Reb Shmuel is he held that it's permissible even to put it on the back of the door, even when you open the door on Shabbos, you can open and close it.
Not a problem.
Because the door is null and void to the house. Mamash a Chiddush.
So therefore, since the door is null and void to the house, the menorah is part of the door.
Yeah.
And therefore you could move it.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Chiddush. Now, obviously, we're going to see if we hold this way. Just because it's highlighted, don't assume that we're going to go this way. Don't go and say, all right, now I learned in 5-10 minutes that you could put a nair behind the door and open the door on Shabbos.
I don't think there's a problem with that. Nobody does this.
No. This is the opinion of Reb Shmuel, number one. Number two is we don't really put our menorahs behind the door anyways, number two. Okay, so, but if a person wants to do it, this is his opinion. We're going to have to see if we hold this way, right? Ve'im Omar, and don't say, here's another problem. It could be a halachic issue, right? I mean, we're not done yet with the potential issues. Ve'im Omar, kisheposeach o noel, mata Hashem o hashava o pasilo o marchiko memeno v'nimsa mechav Omar. Don't say that when you're going to open or close the door, consequently, that will cause the shemen to tilt one way or the other, or the wax from the candle, the wick, and it will distance it. So now it comes out that a person will either cause the nair to become extinguished, or he will cause it to light more, to accelerate its lighting and to make it bigger. So he's saying over here, don't say that that's going to be a problem.
Mhm.
It's not going to be a problem. Why not? Maybe he's going with the same idea that he said before. It's going to be batel. It's going to be null and void to the thing there, right? The haner shalatavla, Menorah is a tavla unoifel. Because let's say, for example, right, you have a nair, right? A nair that is on the tavla. Tavla is like not a sheet of paper, a tray. Okay, let's say you have a nair that's on a tray. Minar es a tavla v'hu. So you could shake the tray, and the candle will fall. But we're not concerned. That now you're going to cause the shemen to tilt one way or the other. It's not a problem of extinguishing or causing it to be lit. So we're going to have to come back to exactly this tray business and where it's coming from. And if you know, okay, so now he's saying, even if it's applicable to say, davar she'eino miskaven is permissible, something that you don't intend for will be permissible, and it's not psik reisha. Psik reisha is inevitable that it will happen. Literally the cutting of the head. Person can't say, I'm going to cut the head of a chicken. Back then, thousands of years ago, they didn't have Toys R Us. And they used to play with heads from animals, bugs. Yeah. So they cut the head off. Don't say I'm going to cut the head off. My intention is to use it for a toy for my kid. And I'm not going to kill the animal in the process. No, for sure you're going to kill it. It's going to be a problem of shechita, of slaughtering on Shabbos, one of the 39 malachas. Ulefi ma sheperish ribahi dener shachori adelis asr l'nelevav ta'achu asr. Now, according to the read, this will in fact be prohibited to open and close this door. Shaperish explains shener takua ba'achori adelis. The nair is fixed, is like pegged into, it's inserted into behind the door. With psichas adalos, when a person opens the door of bin iloso or closes it, marchich Hashem in psilo or makar valeh, he's going to cause the shemen to change. So he's cholik, yes. So you have a machlokas rishonim over here. The nair shalatavla ma'amid b'she'in lo shem is talking about there was no oil in that nair. The nair that was being discussed regarding the receptacle that had oil in a wick that was on a tray, that's talking about there was no oil. Because if there was oil, it would be psik ratio for sure be a problem because it's inevitable that now you're going to be causing the shemen to change. That's the siman. So there's a lot of action of this siman that really goes back to siman Reish Ayin Zayin. That's what the Bach says. Bach says I'm speechless. Look at what I wrote about in Reish Ayin Zayin, which is really, if I'm not mistaken, the halachas of an achsanya, which the majority of the siman doesn't really have to do with this, which is interesting. But there is nevertheless Beis Yosef over here. Beis Yosef writes, the highlighted part, Hach dener shachor hadelos also lifto kenegdo. This parallel siman Reish Ayin Zayin the tlotze perusha neno. So there's three ways actually to explain this Gemara, to explain this. Before we actually go on the Beis Yosef, we should take a look at the source of this Torah, source of this halacha, which is the Gemara in Shabbos itself. Gemara says in Shabbos, Kuf Chof Amud Beis. I'm going to start from the blue highlight right over here. Tanu Rabbanan. Brisa says, if you have a ner, shalgabe tavla. Let's you have a candle, like we said, a receptacle. It has a wick, maybe oil, that is on the tray. Menorah is a tavla, v'hinoi fellas. You could just shake the tray and then the ner will come off. It extinguishes. Amr debate Rabbi Yanai lo shanu ela b'shachech v'maniach nasa b'sisla davra. So this is talking about you accidentally left the ner there. But if it was purposely that you left the nair there, it becomes a base for something that is prohibited, which would be a problem. Rashi over here writes, near doilik. Seems like it was even lit. You forgot it there when it was still day, without any knowledge, you didn't even realize. Okay. Comes along Taisus. Menorah is a tavla. We're talking about that there's no oil in this nair. So it was left there, maybe it was lit going into Shabbos, whatever it is. You have a tray. So now you could shake it up. Shake it off if you accidentally left it there. If there was oil, it'll be a problem. You're extinguishing it.
But
yeah,
the lush in the Gemara is that Kav said it. Something is extinguished over there.
That's correct. So how would the Ri learn that? Let's continue. The iko shemen bener chayiv shari shofech bener v'havik mistach l'menu chayiv mishum chavik tamer rishbak beis deveitze b'Yerushalmi mukala bener shekava loketani b'hach b'rais v'im kavsa kavsa. So the Yerushalmi, interestingly enough, this is the Yerushalmi. Whoever wants to look it up. Okay, he says look at the Yafe Einayim. Okay, he says the Yerushalmi has a different text. Gemara quotes this in the Yerushalmi. It doesn't say if it extinguishes and extinguishes. So it's implied from the Yerushalmi, the reasoning, that there was nothing to extinguish because it wasn't lit. So it takes out that part of the brisa. If it extinguishes, extinguishes. That was your question. Fine. Back in the Gemara. Highlighted part, Tana. Ner shachori adareth. That's our sugya. If you got a ner that's behind the door, but you see, now that we're learning the Gemara, the juxtaposition between these two ideas and how we could understand the Torah better. Because before you're like, what is the Torah talking about? He's talking about a tavla. Where's he getting that from? Tavla man de karshmei. The answer is the Gemara has them juxtaposed to one another. Tana ner shachor del psech v'nol kedarchvim kafsa kafsa. Okay, that's the ner behind the door. You could open, close it. If it extinguishes, it extinguishes. Vayir ala Rav. Rav would curse such a person who would do this, who would have his ner that's behind the door and open it on Shabbos like that. Ravina said to Ravacha, Bria de Rava, the son of Rava, Armila, and some say a lot of names over here. Ravacha, Bria de Rava told Ravashi, my time a light alarm. Why is Rav cursing people who are doing this? Maybe he'll say Rav Savar like Rabbi Yehuda. Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says what? The davar she'inam miskaven is going to be a problem. See Rashi. Light Allah ala moirin king Rabbi Yehuda. So davar she'inam miskaven is going to be aser, which means that you're opening the door, and that's your main intention. One's main intention is not to cause the shemen to now move, the oil to move, and not to cause it to be extinguished or to light more. So what's the reason he did this? So he says, Ilim mishum de Rav savar like Rabbi Yehuda, that Rav is going to hold like Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore he cursed him when it's going to do this because the davar she'inam miskaven is also something that you don't intend to do, and you do it anyways according to Rabbi Yehuda is going to be a problem. The Tana Ketani look at Rabbi Shimon, and the author of this Bryce who says that you could do it is going like Rabbi Shimon, who says davar she'inam miskaven is going to be okay if you don't intend to do it. If it's an unintentional act, you're opening the door, your intention is to open the act. If the oil gets changed, so then it's fine according to Rabbi Shimon. Mishum dera savarla Rabbi Yehuda called the Tani Rabbi Shimon. Malaya just because Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda, anyone now who's gonna go like Rabbi Shimon is going to be cursed just because you don't hold that way. Rabbi Shimon's a legitimate opinion. He answers the Gemara on this. Amarle Baha Filu Rabbi Shimon Moidid Ha Bai the Rava Damitravai. It says like over a dozen times in Shas. Moidid Rabbi Shimon Psekrei Shavalo Yamas. Now, even Rabbi Shimon agrees in this case that it will be prohibited because Abai and Rava they both say Moidid Rabbi Shimon agrees Psekrei Shavalo Yamas. You're cutting off the head of the chicken below Yamas and it's not going to die. It's inevitable. You know it's going to happen. So therefore, since it's known that when a person will open the door, the shemen will be moved and it might get extinguished or cause the fire to increase, therefore it's going to be a problem. That's why Rav cursed them.
But worse, this is the groma. No, it's not like they're cutting the chicken's head with the
No.
Amish and Tilas Nefesh.
No, says Rashi, V'hacha nami haruach mikaveu. Over here also, it's most probable that the wind will extinguish it. The wind will extinguish it. Just like when you're cutting the head, you know the chicken's going to die. When you're lighting over there, you know the wind will extinguish it.
So it's a ruach.
Mitsuya.
It's even a ruach Mitsuya was saying.
Yeah. That's what we're saying. What do you mean, even a ruach Mitsuya?
Because a ruach Shena Mitsuya is like a hurricane, no? It's not like...
Yeah, ruach Shena Mitsuya, but a regular standard ruach is assumed that it will extinguish it, so therefore be a problem. If ruach Shena Mitsuya, then maybe it could be more makel.
And would it depend if it's the winter or the summer? Because the summer it's...
Let me tell you, Hanukkah is always during the winter.
And we're talking Shabbos here.
We're talking Shabbos on Hanukkah.
This is Shabbos Hanukkah, this is just Shabbos Tam, no?
Oh, this is Shabbos time. I see what you're saying. Right. Where do you see Menorah over here?
I mean, they're going to bring all these into play, obviously.
Right, this ties into
play.
Hanukkah. Good
I'm
point.
just saying in Shabbos,
Good point. I did not think of that. Excellent point. So then in the summer, perhaps if it's not as windy, then one could be more lenient. Yeah. Fine. Good point. David?
Why does it matter? I understand why would there be different? They could be windy either time, right?
In the summer, I mean, you got to know your wind and know your location.
David, you got to
know your wind.
Late August in the summer, you can have a wind.
Okay, we're talking middle of the summer, let's say.
I mean, you have to know your days, but there are some days where it's just calm and it's just like you
Right.
don't feel any wind.
Even by us, we're like right out of a flood zone. We're a few blocks away from the bay. We get breezes. Let me tell you, we get breezes. But some days in the summer, it's not breezy. You
Yeah,
gotta
that's super.
know your wind, know your day.
Sea breeze.
.com to see whether it's 2 miles per hour or 25 miles per
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Sukkah's more nicer.
Yeah.
Wait, in the sukkah, where does the Rav light in the sukkah? No, sorry, change the subject.
By what? Menorah?
No, the Neros.
Oh, I don't like. My wife does.
I don't know. If you, where's
That's a good question. Mitzvah Hashem, we learned some in tough Islam test. We'll get
And
to that.
sukkahs, maybe
And
there's a sukkah for
sukkahs.
sukkahs.
Mitzvah Hashem, when we get to sukkahs, it's a good shaila, because really there's an issue over there. There's an Indian to light in the sukkah and light where you eat.
When you're eating.
But now if you're using nice silver and you don't want to leave the neiros there, it really became muksa. Now after, and it's a besisal davar iser, even if you place them on a base. So they say, I mean, it's a whole discussion. Maybe you could put other very important items which are not muksa on the base, which will be the main item, so to say, chal that you're going to use the next day, a main item, whatever, and then you could bring it in after. They discussed that, but that's not so pashut at all. When we learn Siman Reish Samach Gimel, which is the next Siman Reish Samach Gimel, now it's right after Reish Samach Beis, which we spent a lot of time on, so that will come up in the beginning of the Siman. So we won't need to wait all the way from Taf Reish Lamed Tes. So yeah. That's the answer over there. Yeah. They made a pretty cool update on the Tesla on the map. You could push a button on the main map of the screen and it shows you the clouds in the sky. In addition to like the weather and like what the temperature is for the next couple hours, there's like a button you could press. It's like a little thing. In addition to that, they put like, you know, on a weather
So
channel.
they'll tell you the cloud.
Crazy.
pattern.
Yeah, it shows you the cloud pattern and it shows you for the next like 5 hours.
Crazy.
Yeah, pretty cool. So
Yeah, where they got a phone where you show the actual, they say, if it's raining in the place, they'll show you the.
yeah, like it will zoom out on your
background thing.
location and like show you like where like the whole. It's pretty cool,
Mhm.
pretty cool. After they come up with the things, you're like, why was this never done beforehand? Like it's so obvious to do, certain things. And it's a good idea. All right, Hoseach v'noyel kadarko. You open it normally. Afagav shal yidei kain misnadnid haner, says Taisus. Even though that through opening the door, you're going to cause the nair to move. Umisrachik shemen, you're going to distance the shemen min hashalhavus from the flame. Oh, miskare v'havi machavo, you'll bring it closer. Now it's extinguishing or mavir. Okay. Then he goes into more pshatim, and he says, had it not been for a problem of extinguishing or causing the fire to burn, don't say that it would be a problem because of moving it. Because when you close the door, that's not considered moving. And it's also not a basis davar also a base for something prohibited, because the bias is the main priority over here, and it's batal agav the bias next to the house. It's null and void. Or it's talking about that you forgot it and it's therefore not a base. Okay, so this is the Gemara. I don't know if we could do this whole Beis Yosef in 5 minutes, but we could do definitely the first part. Okay, so there's 3 explanations that the Beis Yosef quotes over here. Okay, you have Rashi and you have Rabbeinu Chanano. In Isra el Liftayach, Avalino Leika Isura. The whole prohibition is opening, but closing there's no prohibition. Where do we see that in Rashi? V'hachanami, I don't know where he sees that in Rashi. I don't know where he sees that in Rashi. Where does he see that in the Rabbeinu Chananel? Oh, Rabbeinu Chananel already highlighted it. Let's learn the whole thing. It's small print. I'm sorry. I'll try to zoom it in and then I'll scroll it over. Try to zoom it in so no one hurts their eyes over here. We're gonna start from Ner Shagabi Tava Isa de Ukme de Bay Rabbi Yanai b'shachach ner she'algabe etavlo v'niach ner algabe etavlo. Now it's just the ner she'muksa machmas isur v'asul tiltul v'tana tana kama derov v'layra larov hichi dodish v'vadi kishvosech v'noel yichavaner. If you're going to open and close, for sure will extinguish. Mishum, because the door no gazbo makav vaso, it will touch it and it cause it to get extinguished. It's also even according to Bishima's situation with Yamas. So I'm not sure exactly in Israel Lino Lake Yisura, where the Beis Yosef is getting that from in Rashi and Rabbeinu Chananel. I don't really see that. So I'm missing something. I don't know. I don't, unless there's a Rashi in another place, or Rabbeinu Hanan in another place, but I would assume that this is the sugya. So if anyone knows, let me know if anyone comes across it, because it seems like from over here, I mean, he clearly says when you open and when you close it. He's clearly equating the two. This is the Rabbeinu Hanan. So I'm just not sure where the Beis Yosef is coming from over here. Okay, but anyways, he views it as one opinion. Uperish ri asar gam leno. According to the Ri, it's prohibited also to close. That would be a second explanation. V'Rabbeinu shekasav kan dener shachri adelos asal v'telch leno konegdo. And the Torah over here, Rabbeinu, our master, who wrote over here that the nair behind the door is prohibited to open and close. Lo kasav kin el leperish ri. He's only writing that according to the Ri. Because according to Rashi and Rabbeinu Hanan, maybe another place, it's only going to be a problem one direction. It's a one-way street, aka opening. Closing wouldn't be an issue. It's writing that according to the Ri. Miu near the davka lididu. However, this is only according to them. That they were lighting by the entrances of their houses. Which was near the courtyard. But they were lighting inside. So now there's a concern. That when you open the door, you're going to cause it to extinguish. But according to us, according to us, we light in the winter house and the house in front of the winter house. You don't need to worry about it being extinguished. I'm going to explain what this means for a few seconds over here. Back then, they used to have one entrance into their house. There's no such thing as a back door. There's no such thing as side doors. They wouldn't have big houses like we have nowadays. 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. Their whole house was a couple of bedrooms, all right? Literally. So they would have one main room. That was their house. Finished. So a lot of times they had one room in front of their main room. Okay? The room in front of their main room, that was called the bias, the house. The winter room is the back room. It's like nowadays we have a foyer. Some people have a foyer. It's like that little entrance room before you go into the main house. So that's what is being referred to when we say bias. The Beis HaChorov was the inner house, and you didn't need to worry about wind as much and it getting as cold because it was further in. So it's saying when you're lighting in that winter house, in that inner house, you don't need to worry about this halacha because it's already further in. You don't need to worry about it getting extinguished. That's the whole idea, to keep the wind out. In because it's not inevitable that it's going to occur. You have to be careful unless both doors are aligned with one another and they're both open, then you have a problem. If you're going to close that door before the front door to the house, then you won't have that issue. Both of them are open, then you have an issue. Similarly, if you have neiros over there that are set in the wall that's behind the door, that's going to be prohibited because it's going to bang it. When you open it, the door is going to smack and hit the neiros and extinguish them. Especially if the neiros are on the door. You can find. So that's basically the point of the Beis Yosef, and this is introducing us the concept of the bias and the Beis HaChoros. So all right, so Mitzvah Hashem, tomorrow I'm going to leave an arrow. We're going to pick it up with this last Beis Yosef, and then we're going to go right into the Shulchan Aruch and keep moving. It's going to be a short sim. We're not going to sit on it that long, not that much. Everyone should have a wonderful day. Bruchim to you.